And some of this information just confirms what we've already discussed. So I'm just going to highlight certain areas. We talked about mandatory subjects. They're the only subjects over which an impasse can arise. They're the only subject matters over which the union can strike or the employer can lock out. Permissive subjects are subjects where you can discuss matters, but you don't have any obligation to bargain over it. A permissive subject is simply one over which it's not mandatory. Now let's talk about some fun examples. You're engaged in collective bargaining, and you shake hands and you say, hey, we've got a deal. So then you say, oh my God, during the negotiation process, the union filed a whole bunch of spurious grievances. And I bring all the parties back and I say to the union, hey, I know we shook hands, but there's no contract until you get rid of all those BS grievances. The union says, stick it in your ear, we got a contract, if ratified. Do you have a contract? You have a contract, if ratified, because asking the union to withdraw grievances or charges is a permissive subject, meaning you can discuss it and the union doesn't have to bargain over it or even discuss it with you. The same thing applies to Mr. Union. If we agree or have a tentative agreement, will you agree to recommend the package to the rank and file? That's a permissive subject, not a mandatory one. So what I learned years ago is to take all of these important permissive subjects and put them on the table under housekeeping on the first day of negotiations. And if the union, and likely they will, particularly the first day of negotiation, the union agrees to them, even though they're permissive, the union is as much bound as it is in agreement to a mandatory subject, meaning it can't renege. Don't we end up bargaining against ourselves? Don't we? Does the union have to ratify the agreement? So if the union doesn't really like the deal, it could not recommend it, get it shot down. So now you come back and the union says, we've got evidence that the troops are unhappy and we need more money. So one of the ways around that is during the first day of collective bargaining under what I call housekeeping matters, like where do we meet, how often, when, who pays for the hotel room, maybe it's every other time. If there's an agreement, all spurious, all charges, all grievances get dropped. You're going to formally recommend the agreement, and after you recommend the agreement, it goes back to my boss in Pittsburgh, who has the final authority over whether there's going to be a deal or not. He must accept it. It's a permissive subject. If the union agrees, now you've shifted the balance of power in negotiations. So what you need to accomplish is often dictated by your understanding of what's permissive and what's a mandatory subject of bargaining.